What's going on, guys? It's Dr. Freeze here at the Lighthouse, and today I'm going to teach you about impacting. Now, I know this is something that a lot of people have wanted to learn for a very long time, and so I'm really excited to share with you what impacting is, because it's a style that I really love and that not a lot of glovers know about, but that they want to learn about. So I'm super stoked. Before we get into that though, I do want to share with you something that I learned recently. There's this term that I learned recently called lighthouse keeper or light keeper. A light keeper is someone that tends the lighthouse and makes sure that the light is running. I absolutely love this term light keeper because to me, my purpose in life is to be a light for others. Whether that's at festivals where I'm literally being a light by giving them light shows, or if it's amongst my friends or families where I'm kind of guiding them through difficult points in their life, or through this channel where I'm just kind of teaching you guys how to give light shows. I just want to help people in their darkest moments. And that's so fitting for gloving and light shows because at festivals, I'm able to give people light shows and completely turn their night around. Whether they're having like the worst night of their lives, or they're just like having a terrible time, I'm there to be the light for them. And I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to be that light for others at these festivals. And so if this is something that vibes with you, whether at festivals or maybe amongst your friends and families or whatever outlets or social circles you have, I invite you to join me as a fellow light keeper so we can make the world a little bit brighter. So today I'm going to teach you about impacting, and I'm going to teach you 3 different things. I'm going to teach you what is impacting, I'm going to teach you a little history about impacting, and then I'm going to break down the 3 main parts of impact light shows. If you like the content, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. I also have a program where I teach glovers how to impact in detail. We go super in depth into all the minute details. So if that's something you're interested in, I am running a very limited 50% off discount for only a select number of people. And so I'll put the link in the description below. So without further ado, let's get to it. So what is impacting? Impacting is a style of light show that uses 2 different colored thumb lights to tell a story in a surprising and unexpected way. And it carries an element of magic to it because it makes it look like one light appears and then disappears while the other one appears. Impacting is supposed to be intense. Impacting uses the Inova microlight, and these are bright as The ones that you need to impact are actually discontinued though. And so they don't make these specific ones anymore. And so one of these right now will cost you maybe $40 to $50. And so for a pair, it could cost like up to $100, which can be really expensive and a huge barrier of entry to start impacting. Thankfully, there is a substitute. And the best impacting light that I've seen is probably the Supernova by LED Gloves. They have the exact same functions as the Inova Microlight. The only thing is that they're a little bit smaller. And so they're like the like an amazing light style size. So they are smaller lights. However, there is another company called Glow LEDs, and they make these cases for those supernovas. And so it's a perfect combination, and it'll cost you maybe around $35 for a pair of them with that combination. And so that is a great way to get started in impacting without having to invest $100 in only 2 lights. Now the brightness of these lights contributes to the intensity factor, because let me show you how bright these are. This light is really bright, and if I shine it up, I can literally see the spotlight on my ceiling. It's super bright and it is extremely blinding. And because of the brightness and the intensity that you throw with, this is the most powerful style of light show, in my opinion, of course. So let's talk a little history. Impacting started around 2008 when glovers like Wongton and Teardrop introduced the concept of changing colors from one hand to the other. And Skittles took this concept in 2009 and just took it to a whole nother level, really adding a technical aspect to it. He expanded the art by adding much more complexity to the first mode of the Inova, and by getting really technical with the third mode of the Inova as well. This was further expanded as more glovers started to pick up impacting. Karma brought intensity and style like it had never been seen before. Other glovers like Fry brought this crazy uniqueness and complexity to the show that glovers are still watching to this day, over 10 years later, and are still dropping their jaws to. And then even further, we have glovers like Corduroy. And Corduroy just took the mode 1s to a whole new level, and he's still expanding on them to this day. So if you're ever looking for inspiration, you could look up those glovers that I just named, or pretty much anyone on TNT, which is Team Entrance, and that's the team that I'm currently the captain of. And if you ever get the chance to get an impact show from a TNT member, take the opportunity, because once you get an impact show, your life will never be the same. Now let's go over the 3 main parts of an impact show. The first one is the mode 1, and this is the very first mode of the light. This is what a majority of your show is going to be based on, because these are going to be the 2 characters of your show. And so you will present the light, you'll move it around, you could like bring it back, bring it in front of them, and you just want to tell a story between these 2 characters. There are a variety of M1 modes you could do, and the possibilities are really limitless. The key is all about placement, because this light is a solid light. And there's no gap in it like over here. There's a gap in the light so it looks like it has a trail. This one is a solid, and so it shows all of your flaws. And so the real key with impacting, you will just want to have perfect placement and precision. The mode 1 we also call the M1 for short. Now the second part of the show is the mode 2. That's the second mode of the light, and we call it the M2. And these are great for trail moves. Trail moves are anything that really move fast in like a flowy like motion and that create this kind of trail effect. Woo, whoop-a-woo, whoop-a-woo, whoop-a-doo. So the M2 is great with figure 8s, such as the wonton figure 8, which I go over more in detail over here. And they're also great with flails, whips, liquid, finger rolls, pretty much anything that is more flow heavy or more trail based, you want to use these M2s with. Now at live shows, the M2s hit because they're so trippy, and it's just like the perfect gap in between these lights. And when you hit them with the trails at the drop, a lot of times people's vision just goes woo, and I get jaws dropping all the time from like the simplest M2 moves. And so I love doing M2 moves at festivals, at live shows, and in person, M2 moves just hit so hard. You could be doing the simplest move and you'll still get like minds exploding and juices dripping all over the place. Now the third part of the impact show is the mode 3, also known as the M3, also known as strobing. This is the part that really leaves the impact on the viewer, and it's actually the most overlooked part of the impact show. The reason is that this strobing doesn't really translate well over camera. I mean, it looks like a red and blue light is kind of blinking, but you don't really capture the intensity of how crazy this is. You remember earlier I was showing you how bright these lights are, right? Like this doesn't really capture, even the camera right now doesn't really capture how bright these lights are. And when you have them blinking in your face one at a time like this, it is absolutely disorienting. And it really messes with people's vision, and it totally just like jumbles up their brain. It's like you get a stick and you just like all up in their brain. And this is really the funnest part, in my personal opinion, of impact shows, because this is where you can really just murder people. A lot of people think that it's super easy because all you have to do is like throw a light and just blind them and just do it like this, and it's super easy. All you got to do is just like throw this and there. But there is an art to it, and what strobing requires is a lot of small and precise movements. And these small and precise movements really make your hands come alive, as if they're speaking to the viewer. Now that you know the 3 main modes of the Inova light, I'm gonna teach you how to use the light. So when you turn the light on, it goes to the first mode. And if you wait 3 seconds, it's gonna turn off the next time you click it. Now, if you click it within that 3-second window, it's gonna go to the next mode. And that is what we call the 3-second timer. So if you're throwing these mode 1s and you want to kind of change colors, you have to make sure that 3 seconds have passed before you switch it to the next color. Because if you turn the light on and then you try and click it right away to the other one and that 3-second window hasn't passed, now you're gonna have both lights on. And it makes things a little bit sloppy if you have both lights on, unless you're doing it intentionally. So that's what we call the 3-second timer. The Inova also has something called a hold function. So if you turn the Inova on and you press and hold within that 3-second window, it's gonna stay off for as long as you hold the button down. And the moment you let go, it's gonna go to the next mode. And so you could utilize the hold function to do what we call hold function combos, where you turn one light on, you click and hold it while you turn the other one on, and then you do something like this, and then you hit them with the strobes. That stuff can get pretty complex, and a lot of beginners focus way too much on the hold function combos. As a beginner, you want to focus on your mode 1s. But we'll get into all of that in much more detail in the coming videos. Impacting is very easy to understand and follow because it's just one light. You just follow this light and then like it switches to the next light. So it's very easy to understand. Even my dog can understand that there's one light this way, they follow this light, and then they follow this light over here. That's how easy to understand it is. Impacting is very difficult to execute though. Because like I said earlier, it requires a strict attention to detail. And it requires perfect placement of your moves. And so if you're presenting a mode 1 like this, your thumb can't be out like this, it can't be down like this, it has to be straight. And it can't be angled like this, or your hand can't be like this or this. Everything has to be perfectly presented. And that's really the difficulty of impacting, because when a lot of glovers start out, they'll like memorize moves and they'll kind of like throw these moves that they memorize. And then in order to get out of them, they'll just kind of like flow out of the move or like liquid out of the move. You can't do that with impacting because you need to have clean transitions and you need to have that precise placement. And that's where a lot of glovers fail in impacting, is they think it's super easy because it's easy to understand, but it's really not, and it requires a lot of time. There is a pretty high learning curve. And it's a little disappointing because people jump in thinking, oh, that looks super cool, super easy to do. It takes time, and it takes time being meticulous in your presentation. And that's boring for a lot of glovers because they don't want to spend the time to practice that. And so there is a high learning curve. I've seen a lot of glovers buy the Inovas, make the investment, and then give up after 2 months because they don't want to spend time on the details. And that's really the downfall of many glovers, is not having the patience to see this through to the end. If you really want to learn how to impact, you have to be committed to not seeing results for a while and staying committed to the course. And I promise you, it will pay off huge. Because if you stay committed to learning impacting and actually learn how to throw an impact show, oh man, you're gonna smack people so hard with these, and it's such a good feeling. And you're just gonna get drop jaws, and just like tears falling down people's faces, and just people will be in awe. It's gonna be an extremely rewarding experience knowing that you put in the time and effort and that people are acknowledging it. And so that's all that there is for today. In this video, I taught you what impacting is, I taught you about a little bit of history, and I taught you about the 3 modes and the 3 main parts of an impact show. In the next video, I'm gonna teach you actually how to impact. And so if you're stoked for that, go ahead and give me a subscribe so that you can stay up to date with the next video, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in, my fellow Lightkeeper.